Well, hello, everybody. I'm Eric Morton with WDWNT, and today we're going to talk a little bit about the Disney Destiny. We were treated to a media preview, a showcase of sorts of a lot of the things that are currently in development for the Destiny. We know a lot about the Destiny. We got an even deeper look earlier this week, so join us for our Destiny preview. First of all, people want to know general information about the Destiny. It is a Wish class ship. Some people say, well, you'll hear people say Triton class. I think the actual class of ship is Wish. I think Triton might have been the project or a name they used early on. In the nautical world, they named the ships after the first ship in that class. That is the Wish. Then you have the Treasure, and then you have the Destiny. The Destiny is going to be launching later this fall, November 20th, 2025. It will be home ported in Fort Lauderdale, Port Everglades. So, we've already got, I think if you're a cruise line person, what you've noticed is that things around Port Canaveral are kind of strange right now. If you're, I don't remember which one's 8 and which one's 10, but I think 8 is the Disney Cruise Line port. They have the beautiful Art Deco building, still has an original maquette of the Magic, and it's a very Disney location. And then if you've sailed on the Wish lately, you've gone down to, I think it's 10. These could be flip-flop. But you've gone down to 10, you get on the Wish, and it's sort of a more general, kind of boring cruise terminal. It's not as themed as the Disney one. Well, that's because they're getting more and more ships. We're going to have 13 ships by 2031. And so Fort Lauderdale, they've added this terminal down there. I've sailed out of that one as well. Very nice. Has a lot of cool art. Jared Maruyama did a lot of the art, I believe, for that terminal down in Fort Lauderdale. It's very nice. And the reason that I'm made to understand that the Wish is still sailing out of that other terminal, even though Fantasy and Treasure are able to sail out of the Disney terminal, on certain days there's multiple ships in port at the same time. But on other days, there's only the Wish, but it still sails out of that terminal because parking, right? They have a big parking garage. When the Treasure and the Fantasy are both in port, they're probably going to about fill the parking garage there. So that's my understanding of why they're using that other one. And now we go down to Fort Lauderdale, where I sailed out of Fort Lauderdale on the Magic. Now the Destiny is going to be sailing out of there. It's going to be going on 4 and 5 night voyages. There's going to be the Bahamas and Western Caribbean. Slightly different itineraries. Right now, the Wish is doing, a lot of these shorter itineraries, and the Treasure is doing 7 nights. Now we have the Destiny's going to be doing 4 and 5 nights. So we have all these great, big, beautiful new ships, and there's plenty to share. I guess we'll get started with the things that we were treated to on this media event. The event started with us getting on buses and traveling from Walt Disney World all the way out to Port Canaveral and boarding the Wish right as people were getting off, right? So everyone is off of the Wish or in the process of getting off, and we come on. There's a very short amount of time when they're trying to turn the ship over, and they had the media event during this time. So we went into the Hero Zone, which is sort of a flex space up on one of the upper decks, and you will see things like inflatable obstacle course or people playing games up there. That's the area they had set up for us. And we came in, immediately we had a couple character meet and greets available, characters that are going to be on the Destiny. Those included Spider-Man, who's already on the Wish class ships, right? Because he shows up in the Worlds of Marvel dinner event. And then we had Black Panther. So I got to meet Spider-Man and Black Panther. And then we were immediately introduced to a lot of concept art. So first up, we have the concept art that's going to be in all of the staterooms. And I'm going to pull up our article, and hopefully Billy can find this concept art and see it through to post it. Let me see. We got, first of all, we got concept art for the Grand Hall. The Grand Hall is themed after Black Panther. So it's has a lot of cool lighting effects. It's very high tech, very Wakanda inspired, if you will. If you're not a Marvel person, Wakanda is a very high tech kind of secret country that's cloaked from the rest of the world because their technology is so advanced. They don't want people coming in and taking their vibranium. So we got this beautiful Grand Hall, and there's a beautiful statue, and we got great looks from Disney at the creation of this Black Panther statue. He is wearing his suit, his vibranium suit, all black, with some silver accents and some purple embellishments on it. It looks really cool. It doesn't look to me, how do I say this? It's a little bit of a shock to the system when you're used to seeing Cinderella, Aladdin and Jasmine, Mickey Mouse, some of these other lobby characters in the Grand Hall, and then you go into something that is decidedly more like high tech and fancy, like the Black Panther, a superhero, right? That's a big major change, and it's your first hint that the theme of this ship is heroes and villains. So while the theme of the treasure is adventure, the theme of the Destiny is heroes and villains. This is not like any Disney cruise ship you've been on. It is very focused on these heroes and villains. A lot of superheroes. Spider-Man is the stern art is Spider-Man and some of his spider bots. So where you're used to seeing Goofy painting the stern, or Rapunzel hanging from her hair painting the stern, or Peter Pan and Captain Hook and their adventurous swashbuckling fight. You're going to have Spider-Man and some spider bots on the stern of the Destiny. That's a big change thematically. It's a big change aesthetically. And this ship is going to be, another degree in a different direction from the way that the treasure sort of went in this direction of being what Tom and I think would consider like for parks people, right? If you're a parks person, you're going to want to go to the Skipper Society Lounge that's themed after the Jungle Cruise, and you're going to go to the Periscope Pub that's themed after 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, and you're going to want to go to the Haunted Mansion Parlor, which is themed after the Haunted Mansion. This is more superhero themed or Marvel themed. We're still going to get some of these things, and we'll get to those in just a minute. But I just want to tell people this is going to be, we realize the Wish, the Treasure, and the Destiny all are going to have a very similar, if not identical, layout in terms of deck plan, what is located where, but what's in those spaces is what's going to be themed differently. And for those who say that the ship is a ship, I will tell you this makes all the difference. I've sailed multiple times on the Wish. I've sailed on the Treasure. And the Treasure, while it feels familiar because you know how to get around if you've been on the Wish or any, whatever, you figure it out, right? Well, they feel like the same ship in that way, but in every other way, they're completely different. And I think a lot of people think the Treasure is a pretty big step up from the Wish, even though they are essentially the same design, the same hull, the same, same deck plan. But the way that they themed the Treasure has a way of connecting with people in a way that maybe the Wish hasn't. At least what I've heard, maybe I'm sure there are people who their favorite ship is the Wish. Look, cruise line people are like that. Most people's favorite Disney cruise ship is whichever cruise ship they went on first. Wherever your first Disney cruise is, a lot of the people think that. For a long time, mine has been the Magic. I've been on every ship except for the Fantasy. And I know the Fantasy is one that's a lot of people's favorite. So, again, the Treasure is, you'll have that feel of wayfinding-wise in your head. If you've been on the Wish, the Destiny. If you've been on the Wish or the Treasure, you'll have that same wayfinding nerves probably firing when you're on the Destiny, but the feel is going to be completely different. So like I said, they shared a look at a lot of those things with us, and I think that you'll think they're pretty cool. I think they're pretty innovative. It's a big risk, I think, going into this, to a ship that had maybe Cinderella or Jasmine or something like that before, to now having, Loki and Spider-Man and some of these other characters. I just think Black Panther, obviously, it's just a big difference. I think it's cool, and I think one thing that people like is to have a distinct experience on their ship. I think a lot of cruise lines have a lot of ships that are pretty much the same. You walk on one and it doesn't differ from the others. I think Disney's doing a good job of trying to differentiate the experience. There are a lot of things that are the same, but there are enough things that are different that it probably warrants a visit, right? So another thing, and they didn't show this to us, but there are going to be several musical horns. People like these, the play When You Wish Upon a Star when you're pulling out of port, things like that. This is going to have, the Glory Days, Go the Distance, Circle of Life, the Spider-Man theme, Cruella de Vil, and the Captain America March playing on the horns. So that's going to be pretty cool. That's always a good way, like, you feel those, maybe if you're a Disney person anyway, you feel those kind of looks from when you're in port next to, a ship from Carnival or Royal Caribbean or one of the other cruise lines, and then you play them off a cool little song. I think it's always kind of fun, especially when they have kids over there. You get the jealous looks from them. I don't know. I think it's fun. Tower Suite on this one. So There was an Epcot suite on the Treasure for the big tower suite. This one is going to be Iron Man themed. So you're going to have a big Iron Man suite. We did not get a look at the Iron Man suite. That is going to be there. And another character for this one is superhero Minnie Mouse. It's her special debut in a superhero costume as part of the ship's superhero theme. We got to meet Minnie Mouse. She came out, she posed around and showed off her outfit. I thought it was kind of funny because a ship with a lot of Marvel stuff, including, by the way, Edna a la mode, a sweets shop, that Edna mode is very opposed to heroes wearing capes, but there's Minnie in her cape. She looks great. We haven't seen Mickey yet, but there's Minnie in her cape. She kind of looks like she's inspired by Captain Marvel with the color scheme, just a little bit more classic and traditional touches on there. But I thought that was pretty cool. In terms of restaurants, you're going to have your dining rotation. You're still going to get Worlds of Marvel. That's a restaurant that we've kind of, I don't want to say lampooned, but a restaurant that we've generally not been big fans of. I think walking into Worlds of Marvel is kind of cool. There's a lot of cool like lighting effects and holograms and stuff to look at. The show is a little corny. Both shows are a little corny. One cornier than the other, perhaps. The new one with Groot, it's pretty bad. They changed it between the preview and the maiden voyage because it was a little, I don't know. It wasn't like people weren't responding to it very well, I think. So Worlds of Marvel, we're still going to have that, right? You're going to have 1923. That's the Roy and Walt Disney side, that kind of classic old Hollywood style restaurant. And a third restaurant in the dining rotation is going to be Pride Land's Feast of the Lion King. It's going to be an immersive dinner show with African-inspired cuisine. We did get a taste of this. We were not aboard the Wish at this time. We were back at the Contemporary in one of the ballrooms, and they set up a little cocktail hour for us before then. Then we go into they sort of mocked up what this restaurant might look and feel like. They gave us some concept art. We're able to photograph some of the cast member costumes, the plates, the dishes. The one thing that everyone went crazy for, though, is the hyena sipper. So, yes, you will be able to get a hyena sipper. I don't know if it's only available at that restaurant or if it's going to be elsewhere on the Destiny. I know some of those sippers they'll sell at like Wheezy's, Freezy's, or some of those locations up on the deck. But, yeah, they went crazy for the hyena sipper. So that's going to be available. And we got a little taste of it. They did not they gave us they introduced us to the director of the show. And he had some drummers with him. And they put the stage in the center of the room the way that it will be sort of arranged on the ship. And talked a little bit about the show that's going to have sort of modern takes, but classical takes on Lion King, which, of course, great music. They will have storytellers that are telling you the story of the Lion King, and there will be these musical performances. They didn't give us a preview of what that might look like, but they did bring out some live singers and just they performed Can You Feel the Love Tonight for us. And it was wonderful, though, that they did warn us that's not what the show is going to look like when you're on the Destiny. But we got to taste some of the dishes. There was a red snapper dish with some coconut rice. There was a, short rib. It was pretty good. And then some drinks, a weird sweet drink with gummy worms in it, no thanks. And some of those type of details. And they've started releasing a little bit more of this. We don't have a ton of information on what this experience is going to be like, but if it's anything like Plaza del Coco, which is fantastic, I think Arendelle is one of the highlights on the Wish. I think these restaurants are the ones that you circle and you go, I'm not going to Palo that night. I might go to Palo on one of my Worlds of Marvel nights or on one of my 1923 nights, but I'm not missing this show because it is going to be a show. They know people like these. They're responding well to this sort of concept where they have a stage in the center of the restaurant and perform while you're eating. So people are very much looking forward to that. And it sticks with the heroes and villains theme because there is Simba, and maybe we'll get a visit. They kind of tease we might get a visit from some villains from The Lion King too. So obviously, a lot of these Disney movies are based on heroes versus villains, so it's an easy theme to bring forward to this ship. We also got a taste of DeVille's Lounge. So there's a Cruella DeVille piano bar that's going to be aboard the Destiny. And we believe it will be in the location where the piano bars are on the other Wish class ships. So Nightingale's has a piano bar on the Wish. Then you have Scat Cats, which is on the Treasure. They're more small, intimate piano bars. This is going to be much more stylistically sort of red and black. And they had they kind of tried to decorate this ballroom what DeVille's might look like. They had a piano a white piano with Dalmatian spots on it. Cruella interrupted our cocktail hour in there and came and critiqued the clothing of different people that were in the room. I didn't take video of that because it was just kind of, I feel like some of these things are just for the, if only the media gets a preview of this. I'm not sure you guys wanted us to do a YouTube video of Cruella pulling out different Disney influencers that were there and criticizing their outfits. It felt a little weird, and it's not an experience probably you're going to have, but we were there. They had a couple drinks. They had strawberry popcorn. No idea if that's going to be on the menu there. A couple of the drinks there, including a non-alcoholic bourbon. So I'm already skeptical of a bar that's serving non-alcoholic bourbon. As it was described to me, someone said it still tastes like wood and burning, but wasn't alcoholic. So I don't know. Maybe kind of what's the point? That's just me. Let me know what you think in the comments. Cask and Cannon. We got no preview of Cask and Cannon. This is a Pirates of the Caribbean themed pub. We believe is going to be where the Periscope pub is on the Treasure, or where I went blank on what it's called on the Wish. It's similar to Cask and Cannon if it's not. But it's a Pirates of the Caribbean themed pub, and that's going to be up there kind of where the Periscope pub is, up on deck 5. So the final one of those that we got was the Sanctum. So this is kind of the one that they're really pushing. This is the Doctor Strange bar. This is very much Marvel themed, right? It's a Doctor Strange themed lounge with mystical artifacts and cocktails. And they had some weird drinks that they showed us that we've posted pictures of on our site. Bizarre drinkware, stuff like that. Then it's going to have, I don't know. There's a lot of this sort of Doctor Strange stuff, right? So they said there will be some sort of illusions. And we got our first look at the concept art for that. And it looks like it's going to be a pretty cool bar. I am assuming that is going to be where on the Wish, that would be the Bayou. On the Treasure, that would be the Skipper Society. My criticism of that would be those bars are like thoroughfare bars, right? The Bayou and Skipper Society are flanked on each side by like a mall, like a little hallway, and it's a high traffic area, so it's not an intimate space. They're designed to look intimate, and they look like it in some of the photos and concept art you see, but honestly, there's just a lot of people walking along both sides of it. They're cutting through there. In the case of the Wish, it was right across the hall from where the Star Wars Hyperspace Lounge was. So you're trying to feel like you're in the Bayou, and you hear this like of the door opening and closing. And so I think they've stopped that noise because people didn't like it. I don't know. But the Sanctum, it's a cool idea. Let's see how intimate they can make it and see if they leave both sides of that wide open to the hallways. All right. The featured characters, heroes and villains, that are going to be aboard here. Black Panther, Spider-Man, Iron Man, Hercules, Elsa, Anna, Simba, Megara, Merida, Edna Mode. And the featured villains will be Cruella de Vil, Hades, Captain Hook, Loki, and more. Depends, I guess, on if Loki's a villain or Katie, do you consider Loki a villain or a hero, or it's complicated? Villain. All right, I'm going to say he's a villain too, right? It's complicated, but he's a villain because his instincts are usually bad. Right? His instincts. Yeah, and he's got a mischief. Is mischief always bad? No. Harry Potter they embrace mischief, right? I don't know. And again, we said superhero Minnie Mouse. That's going to be a big one for a lot of people I know. So here's the big one. They have, at long last, in development, a Hercules stage show. We got our first concept art, which included Hercules fighting the Hydra, this giant Hydra. They are bringing in people who are like puppeteer experts, right? The people making these puppets made the giant Te-Ka / Te-Fiti puppets for the Moana show. And I will tell you, Tale of Moana was one of the best Disney stage shows I've ever seen, at sea or otherwise. Certainly the best at sea. And it's going to be hard to top. But They said they've been on a worldwide casting tour. They had auditions in Atlanta and New York, LA, London. I don't know how many other places. They said, we found our Hercules. And then they brought him out and introduced him to us. And his name is Corey J. Bradford. And he performed Go the Distance, not in costume, just in a suit, not with the sets.
I have often dreamed of a far-off place where a great warm welcome will be waiting for me, where the crowds will cheer when they see my face, and a voice keeps saying, this is where I'm meant to be. I will find my way. I can go the distance, I'll be there someday. If I can be strong, I know every mile will be worth my while. I would go most anywhere to feel like I belong.
Very, very cool. It was cool to be able to film in a preview in the Walt Disney Theater. I know when we saw the first active tale of Moana aboard the Treasure, we were definitely not allowed to film. So they let us film, and they described a lot of this to us, right? They brought the creatives in, and they said, number one, the set for the Hercules is going to be a little bit of a blend of modern touches and like Grecian architecture. So they brought up the inspiration being like, if you ever saw, they mentioned the John Legend version of Jesus Christ Superstar, which I think aired on, I don't know, ABC or one of these networks. But sort of some minimalist touches, but with like articulated and moving things. And in columns, there is scaffolding involved, and there are very big, elaborate puppets. They were very excited about this sort of blend of modern touches going into classic stuff. There's going to be a new song debuting that was actually cut from an Alan Menken song that was originally cut from Hercules that they are bringing back for this musical that's going to be exclusive to the Disney Destiny. So we're all excited about that. In terms of, where's this thing going? Like we said, Western Caribbean. Some of those, I prefer Western Caribbean itineraries to the Eastern ones myself. That probably means Cozumel. That probably means Grand Cayman. Some of these places, I think most people aren't huge fans of Nassau. And it says Bahamas and Western Caribbean. I don't know that Bahamas means Nassau. Some of you are already booking Destiny cruises, so you can tell me, because I'm sure that you have some sort of itinerary available to you. But yeah. And I assume Lookout Key at Lighthouse Point or Castaway Key, probably Lookout Key. Okay, we got to look at a lot of the merchandise. Full disclosure, they gave us a little bit of merch. I did photograph it. We have photos of it, and we have their stock photos of it. What they gave us was a set of Minnie ears, and honestly, they were puzzling. And I think it's supposed to evoke that superhero Minnie with that color scheme and bow. And then the ears almost look like Tron iconography. They were black with like an aqua blue, like some lines and circles around there. We weren't exactly sure what that was all about. They're a little weird, but it's a good color scheme. People liked them. They thought they were pretty, but they're not so editorial as a lot of these ears that are like, here's an exact picture of this and that. It's kind of this design that you're not really sure what it is. Some people said it was like the Doctor Strange, like when they make a circle in Doctor Strange that has sparks around it. It doesn't look like that to me, right? It looks, I don't know. It looks more like Tron. Obviously, a lot of the other stuff we saw but we're not given. I'm sorry, we were also given a black hat that said Destiny. We were given a set of pins. And then on the second day, we were given a Loungefly backpack, which was blue and black and red and had that sort of color scheme. Hopefully, Billy can put a picture of that up here so you can see that. A water bottle and I think another pin. But they showed off some cool stuff, right? So I like this look that Cruise Line does with the navy blue and gold. And a lot of them have that. The Treasure had more of a teal or aquamarine with gold. These Spirit jerseys are navy blue with gold. They also have there's a tumbler that's navy blue and gold, but it almost looks purple. So maybe I'm misinterpreting this. Maybe it's not navy blue. Maybe it's sort of an ombre, like a sort of navy blue that fades into something more purple. It's hard to say. Navy blue backpack. There's all kinds of jewelry, the Keel coins, all the stuff you're used to seeing. I will say the coolest thing that I saw was just they sell the ship models on every ship, but the Destiny one that I saw was gold. So it looked kind of cool, fancy. Also, for people out there that don't want to look overtly Disney, there are designs that are sort of a black on black, so it's sort of a subdued logo. It's not like doesn't jump right out at you and say Disney on it. But you look at it longer, it's like if you know, you know. We had plush that is the superhero Minnie, and there's a superhero-ish Mickey who we haven't seen his costume debut. So these are, likely inspired in costume. As well as there's some graphical sweatshirts for you younger kids. That Loungefly that I talked about matches that. So does that water bottle. All kinds of pins. Those ears are the real puzzler here. I'm sure someone's going to explain it to me. I'm going to be like, oh, don't I feel stupid for not understanding that? They look almost like records. I don't know what's on those ears. You can tell us in the comments. More Loungefly stuff, backpacks, a Spider-Man Spirit jersey, a Disney Band Plus. By the way, we don't say they're not Magic Bands. They're Disney Band Plus. There is an important semantic reason why they chose Disney Band Plus. That I've been told. I'm not sure it's true, but basically you go into some ports and you say have your Magic Band, and there are some countries that you will visit maybe on a Disney cruise in the future that isn't really comfortable with the idea of magic. Now, I don't know how they react when the Disney Magic cruise ship pulls into port, or maybe the magic avoids those ports altogether. I'm not really sure. We also got to look at some of the food from Edna a la mode, and they're just your dome cupcakes. Very fancy looking stuff. And, like I said, some character meet and greets. Finally, I want to talk about the stateroom decor because we got a lot of pictures of like each stateroom above your bed, there will be artwork. And so they unveiled a lot of this artwork. And the first one is Sorcerer Mickey. So Sorcerer Mickey is standing on a rock with the water splashing up behind him and all that stuff. From Fantasia, that is for concierge level. The way I was told was it's concierge level only, right? So if you want that Sorcerer Mickey, you're going to have to stay concierge. So there's other artwork, including stuff from Mulan, Brave, Hercules, and The Incredibles. And the artwork looks really nice. They also gave us a look at, I don't know what we call these. I mean, we call them fish extenders, I think, but they are called fish extenders, but these are, there's some official name. I think they call them number placards, but colloquially they call them fish extenders. And those are, Incredibles, Big Hero 6, Brave, Sorcerer Mickey. They showed us a glimpse of the swatches of the carpet and some of the wallpaper. So these are cool amenities. They're going to be available, or cool looks at some of the different stylistic things that you're going to encounter on the Disney Destiny. I'm very excited for this. I don't know what's happening with the adventure right now. That's a subject nobody wants to talk about. But the Destiny, everyone's very excited about it. Look, it's going to be a big deal. It's still over in Papenburg, Germany. It is floating on its own. It has been released so that it can float in the water as they put the finishing touches on it. Like we said, this fall they're going to be able to do it. If you want to book the Disney Destiny, by the way, they're not telling me to do this, but I do this because we have a sponsor, Be Our Guest Vacations, and I will tell you, I'm getting a lot of comments from people that Be Our Guest is really good at booking people on the Destiny. So if you want to go on a Destiny, if this looks cool to you, you can go visit our friends at Be Our Guest Vacations at www.nt.travel. It doesn't cost anything, and they'll help you plan your whole itinerary, your shore excursions. They're pros, so maybe you haven't been on a cruise before, or maybe you've never been on a Disney cruise and you're a little intimidated. They can really help you. And when you're trying to compete for some of these hard to get reservations, it helps to have someone with experience on your side. We're very excited about the Destiny. I have the WIGS. That's our Patreon group, the WWNT Interglobe Society. They're watching me record this live. Look, we're going to chop this up probably later and make sure that we put in some B-roll and some of the artwork I'm talking about and things. But we are doing this live, and I'm just going to talk to, see if the WIGS have any questions in here before. Are there any questions in the chat? They're here in Discord following along. Okay, there's no real questions from the WIGS. But I know that there are a lot of people that are excited about the Destiny, including me. I'm excited about all the I've converted from a Disney parks person to a Disney cruise person in many ways. So I'm always excited about a cruise. I'm about to go on my 10th. I think my next one will be my 10th. So I can't wait. And I know some of you have been on 20, 30, 50 plus cruises and are itching to go on to Destiny. And look, we'll see you out there on the high seas, and let us know in the comments what you think about the Destiny, if you're thinking of going out there, or if there's anything that you'd like to see that we didn't cover. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us.